Hello and welcome back to AR77. Today I want to talk about terminology. In a lot of my videos I kind of make the assumption that everyone watching those videos knows what I'm talking about, and well, I know for a fact a lot of you watching those videos know a lot more than what I'm talking about, but the terminology and the things that the jargon that I perhaps use, I wanted to make sure that if let's say you find yourself on the channel because you're new to the hobby, you're interested in getting a replica airgun or something like that, and you want to kind of know what you're talking about when you walk into a shop or when you speak to somebody online or on the phone or whatever. So I kind of wanted to do a bit of a video around terminology, some very basic, fundamental terminology that we use. I'll talk about guns in general, and then I'll talk about the specifics of what you can expect to see on an airgun, and kind of focus really on the external features. I'm not going to go into too much depth about the internals and all that malarkey, but so that we can recognise when we look at a gun what part of the gun we're looking at. Okay, so first of all, guns are guns are guns, and a gun is anything that fires a projectile really with a specific intention. Within that you have handguns, and my channel is full of handguns. A handgun is basically just a gun that you can hold in your hand, and isn't required to be shouldered when firing, basically. Handguns come in a couple of different categories. You have pistols here, and you have revolvers here, and I'm absolutely 100% positive I've referred to revolvers as pistols in the past as well, and sometimes in literature and things it's used as an interchangeable term, but for the most part what we're talking about is pistols here and revolvers here. So what's the difference? Well, a revolver, as you can see here, let me just take the shells out of this. Okay, this is a revolver. This is the Umrex S25 pellet revolver, and as you can see, you load your ammunition into the cylinder there. It takes 6 rounds, and then you close that up, and this being the barrel of the gun, of the revolver, your cylinder in effect forms the chamber. So it's almost like every time you cock the hammer, that cylinder rotates, and the chamber where the round waits before it is fired kind of lines up with the barrel until you pull the trigger and the projectile is fired, shot out of the gun, the pellet in this case. So you have basically a rotating cylinder, which means that the chamber, each one of these that holds a shell, kind of takes upon the role of the chamber as that cylinder rotates. The chamber being where the gun holds the ammunition ready for it to be fired. Okay, so that has a rotating cylinder. With the pistol, the chamber is fixed. It only exists in kind of one place. So if we look at this, this is the HK USP. If this were the real steel, and the mag was in, well, I guess even with this one really, when that magazine is in there, the ammunition waits there. Let me show you. So the ammunition waits there, ready to be fired out of the front of the gun. So that's what you would call kind of a fixed chamber. The chamber only exists in one place here. It has a single chamber in a pistol, and a rotating chamber essentially in a revolver. Now you can get some pistols. There's a version of a 1911 that has kind of two slides essentially, and 2 barrels. It's like a double-barreled pistol really, but the chamber remains stationary at all points. It's although there are 2, because it's double-barreled, they remain stationary. The chamber doesn't move. With the revolver, as you can see, it rotates or revolves. Okay, so that's a revolver. That is a pistol. Feel free to disagree with anything that I've said so far. Every day is a school day. Right, let's look at the anatomy of the pistols themselves, of the pistol and the revolver themselves, of the guns themselves. If you say guns, you're not too far off. Let's start with revolvers then. So very straightforward. At the front, at the business end, you've got the muzzle, and you can see the kind of end of the barrel. Now this is, let me show you a different one just so I can make this point a bit clearer. This is the 715 4-inch by ASG, the Dan Wesson. So at the muzzle here, you can see that it looks like you can see the end of the barrel. That is just part of the whole replica thing. It's a recessed barrel, so it looks like the same diameter as the kind of the real world caliber. That I can do that because there's nobody directly behind this camera, so I can point it at it. The narrow kind of circle that you can see there right in the middle is the actual barrel. That's the actual diameter of the barrel. In this case, 4.5 millimeters or 0.177 caliber. So that's the muzzle. You have your barrel going down the length of the gun here to the sort of the frame in this section, but your barrel runs all the way down there. This bit is sometimes referred to as an underlug, and on this one it has a rail as well. We have a front sight here. Again, forgive me if I'm preaching to the converted. A front sight which corresponds with the rear sight, and if your sight picture looks anything like that, you shouldn't be doing too far wrong. Shouldn't be going too far wrong, although my hands are a bit wobbly there. Yeah, so you've got your barrel, you've got your front sight, top strap and rear sight. You have your hammer next. Let's move that out of the way because it's probably easier to show you on the smaller one. Hammer next, and when you cock the hammer, it engages the trigger like that into single action. I've done a video about single and double action. Single action, double action. So there's your hammer. As you can see, different gun, but all the same stuff. Got your barrel there, obviously a shorter one here. Front sight, top strap, rear sight, hammer. Here are your grips. So you would have on your grip, you'd have sometimes referred to as back strap, front strap. You have here a cylinder release. So as I mentioned before, we have the cylinder there. On this gun, the cylinder release is here. I push it forward and it releases the cylinder, and the cylinder comes out. Just to show you the alternative, on the 715, the cylinder release is here. So you push it down there. So different operation, but the same piece, same component, if you will. And on this one, just while we've got it here, I can explain that this piece that the cylinder release sits on here is called the crane. So that is the crane. Okay. I'll show you on this one again. That is the crane there, which sits on the frame and holds on to that cylinder. You also have your ejector rod here, called ejector rod because it's a rod that ejects spent shell casings in the real world, or I guess spent shell casings in the replica airgun world as well, because once your ammunition is fired, your shell still remains in the cylinder there, so you can either tip it up and drop them out that way, or you can push them out this way and grab them one by one. Where did we get to? Front sight, rear sight, hammer, grip, cylinder release. On this gun, that also works as a safety as well. There you go. Cylinder, crane, ejector rod. We have a trigger here, and I'd be very surprised if anybody doesn't know what a trigger is. And we have the trigger guard here also. I think that's all I need to cover when it comes to the external components, really, of a revolver. So let's move on now to our pistol. A lot of the same things, really. You have your muzzle, you have your barrel in there going down all the way through the gun itself there. Front sight, rear sight. We refer to this top piece here as a slide because guess what it does? It slides. In this particular air gun, with it being CO2 powered and blowback, every time you pull the trigger and you fire a round, it mimics the recoil or the sort of reciprocation that you get from an actual firearm. In an actual firearm, as you pull the trigger, the slide would throw back like that. The bullet would go out of the front of the gun. The spent shell casing would flip up and out of this part here called the ejection port. And then as the slide returns, it will bring up catch another bullet out of the magazine and put it in the chamber, ready to shoot again. The chamber being kind of there in this instance. So we covered a few different things there: slide, ejection port. What else? Yeah, within the slide, you'll often hear me talk about slide serrations. When I'm talking about serrations, I'm talking about these kind of grip grooves here at the rear, just to help you get a grip on that when you're cocking the pistol itself. Some pistols you'll see, let me move that magazine out of the way. Some pistols like this 1911 TRS by Swiss Arms have front slide serrations, so you can cock it like that. Also, in the real world, some people prefer to cock the pistol like that, or you might just want it to make a little check inside the chamber to see if there's a bullet in the chamber. You can do a little slide check using those front serrations. It's up to you really. So there you go. Still slide serrations and slide serrations. Let me get that out of the way and get back to the USP. This gun does have a hammer, but more and more pistols these days, or fewer and fewer, have hammers. More often than not, they are striker fired. Now, if you look at a Glock or a Smith & Wesson M&P, they will be what you call striker fired pistols. So the mechanism happens it all happens in here, and it's slightly different to how a hammer works. But for the purposes of comparison, that's the hammer on a pistol. Do I have a pistol knocking around? Let me just check. No, check the magic drawer, nothing in there. So I don't have a striker-fired pistol on the table today, so I can't demonstrate that. Nevertheless, we also have here our safety. Again, it's becoming a rarity to have an external safety on pistols. A lot more often nowadays, pistols have internal safeties, drop safeties, and they have trigger safeties and things like that. And as always, the ultimate safety is that finger. Just keep it off that trigger until you're ready to dance. This gun is good, and the reason I picked it is because it has this safety which you can engage like that, but it also works as a decocker as well. So you can cock the pistol and decock the pistol. You can see the trigger goes into single action mode there, and we decock it using that safety and decocker. We have the grips here, again, back strap, front strap, you might refer to those as. Often hear me talking about grips, and I use the word stippling, and that's basically just a pattern, the grip pattern on the grips themselves. On this pistol, we have a magazine release here, which is housed kind of just at the underside of the trigger guard here. In other guns, in other pistols, like once again the 1911, and I would say the vast majority, that mag release button will be somewhere in that sort of thumb position there. That tends to be the favoured position. And you have here your slide catch or slide stop. This here, which catches the slide after you've fired the last round, and it holds that slide back, so you know that you've fired your last bit of ammunition once that slide stays in that locked back position. So you've got your slide notch, and your slide stop, or slide catch release. Here's a grip as well. This is a kind of a proprietary grip on the USP, meaning that only specific accessories will attach to that unless you have some kind of an adapter. Far more often you'll see a kind of a Picatinny type rail similar to the one on the front of the 1911 there, or even the one on the, oh, losing the camera again, even the one on the underside of the underlug there on the Dan Weston 715. I don't think the 4-inch in reality actually has that, but I like it. I think it makes the gun look nice and aggressive. I digress. What else do we have? We have, this is where your magazine goes. Didn't talk about magazine, did we? But before I do that, often referred to as a mag well or a magazine well, where you'll put your magazine into the gun itself. And let's look at magazines. So this is your magazine. This is your your spring and what we call the follower, because it follows the BBs. Once you've loaded the BBs in, that spring will follow the BBs up to the top there, like a follower in any situation really. Magazine, not a clip. A magazine holds ammunition within it. A clip just clips ammunition in one place, so it kind of holds ammunition together, so that you can put it in your gun and you don't have to individually load each round, but it's just literally just a clip. I'll put a picture up here or something like that and show you a clip, but magazine is slightly different. Magazine holds the ammunition within it. So I think, again, Hollywood is responsible for magazines being called clips when they're not really clips. What else can I tell you? So we did front sight, rear sight, ejection port, slide serrations, slide catch, release, notches there, mag release or mag button, trigger guard, grip, front strap, back strap, rail. What else? Let me have a look at the 1911, not just because I'm biased, but because there's a couple of additional things here. If we're talking about 1911 style pistols, we'll also have, people will refer to this not just as back strap, but they'll refer to it as the mainspring housing. We also have a grip safety here on a 1911, meaning that you have to be holding the pistol itself and pressing down on the grip safety to engage the trigger. So if I cock this and I pull the trigger, nothing's going to happen unless that grip safety is down, at which point you can fire. The reason being, the intended way to carry a 1911, if you were to carry one for, if you were in a country where it was legal to carry a real pistol like this, the intended way for a 1911 to be carried is cocked and locked. So we're ready to go there, but we have the slide safety engaged there, yeah, so that nothing can happen, even with the grip safety down. But as you draw from holster, you disengage that safety and you're ready to go with that depressed. Okay. Also, with that, we've got a beaver tail, because with semi-automatic pistols, obviously, as they fire, the slide will rack back each time, and that hammer will fly back each time, and you can get something called hammer bite just on the back of your hand here. So a lot of semi-automatic pistols have beaver tails. Obviously, if we're talking about striker-fired pistols, we don't have the hammer, so it's less of a problem. You're more likely to get, if anything, just a bit too high and get caught by the slide itself. But they usually have a little bit of a stub just to prevent that happening. So you want to get as far up as you can for a decent pistol grip, and that beaver tail just protects you from getting that kind of hammer bite. What else? Is there anything else on a 1911 style gun, pistol that's different to what you'd get on something like a USP? Should have really brought a striker fired pistol out as well. But yeah, there you go. Some fundamentals there, some very basic terms. All guns. These are all guns. These are all handguns. These two are pistols. This is a revolver. Oop. As is this. Some shared features: muzzle, front sight, rear sight, grip, trigger guard, safeties, and some things that are different depending on which type of gun. Obviously, you have a cylinder on a revolver, things like the ejector rod on a revolver. On the semi-autos, you have slides and ejection ports and things like that. Okay, so I hope that's relatively comprehensive in terms of some of the terminology around these guns, and I hope that helps you understand what we're talking about when you're looking through videos either on this channel or on other channels, or out and about in shops or online. Yeah, hope that helps. Once again, please subscribe, like, share. Thanks for watching the video today. Take care, stay safe. All the very best to you all. Bye.